we die, we die. If we die, we die.
Welcome, Husker fans. Thank you for tuning into Big Red Radio, the Husker Talk Show. I'm your host, Caleb Jenneret. Next to me, as always, is my co-host, Zach Jenneret. Today, the Big Ten West is wide open, and the Huskers are doing very well. But first, subscribe to the channel, leave a like, hit the bell. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, all linked in the description. If you search Big Red Radio, they will also come up if you want to do it that way. But Zach, you got anything before we get into the news?
Don't. Not yet.
All right, so getting to the news, we did take a bye week with the team last week. We planned to do something. Zach was home for the weekend, but we couldn't get it figured out with scheduling and stuff like that. So we just took a bye week. We did not take a bye week from Bet the Mortgage. Our picks were on Twitter and on our Instagram, and I did pretty well. Zach struggled, but that's a different show. Tune into that. Actually, we're going to put that out on Friday still. So we're going to have two videos in the same day. So look forward to that. But yeah, getting into the news, Marcus Washington is done for the year. We found that out last week, I believe. So now people need to step up. Malachi Coleman, who was announced to be a starter by Matt Rule at the beginning of this week. And then also Jaden Lloyd is going to be getting some time. So excited to see what these freshman receivers can do. Matt Rule said today that they're as fast as any position group in the country. So really looking forward to see what that can do to open up our offense a little bit. And then finally, Heinrich has officially been named the starter, but Jeff Sims is staying ready. You got anything to say about those things before we get into the first topic?
Yeah. Biggest thing. So if you're talking like quarterback battle, biggest thing is just that. We didn't mention that Jeff Sims was hurt, right? And so it seems like Jeff Sims or Heinrich is officially like the starter until proven otherwise. Now he's not a backup filling in a spot. Malachi starting is huge. I feel like he can go up and get it on anyone. I feel like he's faster than anyone, but just being young, just being so young and so raw is really if it's going to hurt him at all, that's what's going to hurt him. But yeah, Luke, did you say Luke Reimer is going to come back?
Yes, that is a thing that I forgot to mention that Luke Reimer is coming back, but pretty sure Tony White said he is back, but he still needs to get in the right mindset and stuff like that. So I don't know if he's going to be limited at all on Saturday or if he's fully back. I hope he's fully back. He's one of the top players on our defense, but he's at least going to be playing to some extent.
Yeah, I think that's all I have for the news.
Yeah. So we only have one topic before our game prediction this week, and that is like the Big Ten the Big Ten West at least is wide open. So we're going to predict the rest of the Big Ten year. I'll start. Sadly, I have Iowa winning the conference, but that doesn't mean Nebraska doesn't finish with a good record. I have Nebraska finishing 8-4, winning out except for Wisconsin. I do have us losing to Wisconsin at Madison, I believe, is what the deciding factor was for me, but still beating Iowa and still finishing out 8-4, winning 8 games for the first time since 2016, and a bowl game appearance for the first time since the same year. But yes, Iowa finishing 9-3, winning the conference, and then Wisconsin finishing second, and Nebraska finishing 8-4, which I would jump out of my chair to go 8-4 right now. I know we're all talking about that the Big Ten West is wide open and that we can win it. Sure, that's a possibility. I think Nebraska actually has the third best odds to win the Big Ten West right now behind Iowa and Wisconsin, but not going to be upset going 5-1 the last 6 games of the year.
Yeah. So I'll start at the bottom of the West for me. So I have Illinois going 4-7. I have Northwestern going 3-7, Purdue 4-7, Wisconsin 7-5, and then Minnesota on top of them at 6-6. Then I have Iowa number 2 at 8-4, and then Nebraska at 7-5, and actually winning the West.
because
The
of
two
the
games,
division and conference records.
correct,
Yeah.
because I see us losing to Maryland, and I
Okay.
also see us losing in East Lansing to Michigan State. Would be the other one we drop. I feel like that's a really tough environment to go into
Yeah.
and play. It's gonna be freaking cold, colder than Nebraska knows, and
But that
so
also might favor Nebraska's play style, which
good.
it's a little too far out to make a prediction on that game, but
But I still think Michigan State is a better team than people give them credit for. I don't think they're a good team. I have them finishing 5-7, but people are also saying that Michigan State's one of the worst teams out there. I don't think that. I think they really got screwed this year with the whole coaching situation. And there's some good players on that Michigan State team. Then the East, I know probably won't talk much about this, but Indiana 2-10, Michigan State 5-7, Rutgers 7-5, Maryland 8-4, and then I have a three-way tie at the top between Penn State, Michigan, and Ohio State at 11-1, and that will be decided by points that I can't predict.
right. Yeah, my I guess going through my entire one as well. Northwestern at the bottom of the West at 3-9, Minnesota at 4-8, Illinois at 7-5, Purdue at 5-7, but they had the tiebreaker over Illinois and also the better conference and division record
Oh,
or division record.
I just realized I messed
Nebraska.
up. Um, I must have forgot to predict a couple of the Purdue, Northwestern, Illinois games because I have them at 4-7, 3-7, and 4-7.
Hmm,
So
that's all right. It doesn't really matter. What we were getting at was Nebraska and trying to predict their games for the rest of the year. So Nebraska, I have them finishing third in the division. Zach has them finishing first in the division, going to Indianapolis for a Big Ten championship game against Michigan, Penn State, or Ohio State. My East side, real quick, I have Indiana finishing 2-10, Michigan State 3-9, Maryland 7-5, Rutgers 6-6, and Ohio State 10-2, Penn State 11-1, and Michigan 12-0, undefeated. We'll actually see what happens with Michigan after that news came out today about them being under investigation. I don't think anything will happen this year. If anything, it'll happen next year or the year after. If anything actually comes
that's
from
about
it.
the dumbest. I honestly, person, that's about the dumbest thing ever. It's called scouting.
Yeah,
Tell
but
me
it's
what
not.
other.
It's not really. It's illegal. Like if you send other people to games to watch them in person, it is illegal. Now, it's no different than watching film. I think what the big thing is the sign stealing, which I did not know until today that you cannot wear a speaker and a mic inside of a college helmet. So that is why signs are so important. Um, and that is what Michigan is being accused of, is stealing those signs. And it is kind of weird. It is kind of weird how I don't know if you've seen the Greg Schiano interview at halftime of the Michigan game, where he talks about we're doing some things well, but some things are just not right that are happening. And he doesn't really expand on that at all. And people are thinking that he's kind of catching on, that Michigan just kind of knows what they're doing every time. But I don't know. Nothing's going to happen this year. The investigation's not going to finish this year unless Michigan outright comes out and admits it. So don't see anything happening this year with that.
This
But the
is just
main
another
point,
reason I see Harbaugh leaving
Harbaugh,
that
yeah,
Michigan.
he very good chance he's the Bears coach next year, in my opinion. Played there. They're going to have the top three picks probably. So yeah, I don't see him sticking around at Michigan for a while. I thought he was going to be gone this year. I thought last year was going to be his last year, but decided to come back. But you have anything else before we get into our game prediction?
Don't.
All right. So game prediction: Nebraska's favored by 12 as we're recording, and the over/under set at 41 total points. Northwestern. I'll start off with mine. Northwestern has the second worst offense in the Big Ten, only in front of Iowa, averaging 306 total yards a game. Worst rushing offense in the Big Ten, averaging less than 110 yards per game, and they're giving up the second most sacks. Going over to defense, they have a bottom five defense in the Big Ten. Worst rushing defense in the Big Ten, giving up 172 yards per game and over 2 rushing touchdowns per game. They're tied for the worst in sacks. and they're giving up 27 total points per game. So a lot of things to look at there, especially matchup wise. They have the worst rushing defense, and obviously Nebraska I think has the second best rushing offense in the Big Ten. So that's a good matchup there. And Nebraska's defense is legit, as we've been proven. Besides the Michigan game, I don't think anybody has really done anything. You can talk about Colorado, but that was just a weird one. But moving past that, I don't think Northwestern does much at all against this Nebraska defense, especially since they have the worst rushing offense in the Big Ten, less than Iowa. So that's going to be a big time matchup to watch there, and they're giving up the second most sacks. I haven't checked the sacks statistic as a team in a while. That's one of the
a
ones
little
that
over 3.5 a game.
Right. So I know it's not where we were at the beginning of the year, but still getting after the quarterback at a pretty high.
No, we're just a little over 2.5 a game. Northwestern's allowing a little over 3.5.
Yeah. And Nebraska likes to get after the quarterback. Tony White likes to blitz. So pretty excited about the defense's matchup this game. My score prediction, 28-10, Nebraska. I think Nebraska really handles this game like they should. I think that's a big thing that Matt Rule has been pushing is handle games like you should. If you're up 14-0, act like you're losing. If you're down, don't get out of your head and don't quit like in the Michigan game. So really looking forward to this matchup. I don't think I know you can look at past years and say Northwestern has really played close to Nebraska and even last year beating Nebraska, but it's a whole different team, even though they're a lot of the same players. It's a whole different mindset. It's a whole different coaching staff. I think Nebraska handles business. So if you're betting on this game, bet Nebraska minus 12 and the under just barely. I think I have my total set at 38. The actual total set at 41. So it's going to be close. I'm not going to touch this game. As we always mention, we both don't bet on Nebraska games. So, but yeah, I have Nebraska 28-10.
Yeah. So just a couple key things that I'm looking at here. So not to be, the negative side of it. I think Nebraska will win this game starting there, but the reason I feel like Northwestern could possibly keep it close is because that passing offense for Northwestern is not great, but this is a team that can play behind, as we saw in the Minnesota game. Right, they use their passing offense to play really well, averaging 203 a game. And then if you go look at Nebraska's pass defense, I mean they're giving up almost 250 a game. That's obviously going to be a little skewed considering we don't give up anything on the ground. But getting to the quarterback is going to be a key here because we've got D-backs down. And so we might be a little mismatched in some coverage situations. And so we got to get pressure on the quarterback to force these bad throws. But then, like Caleb said, you look at that rushing offense that is currently ranked number 17 in the country at 200 yards a game versus the rushing defense for Northwestern giving up 172. That's a stat you like to see because, I mean, that's what Nebraska is going to do, especially with Heinrich in the backfield, Anthony Grant in the backfield. Obviously, got to fix his, ball security, but we can, and Josh Fleeks running the ball as well. You can run the ball on these guys. But probably the biggest thing is turnovers here. So last week against UTEP, Northwestern created 3 turnovers, and we seem to have fumbling issues still after the Illinois game with Anthony Grant. Obviously, a bye week is something that could really, really help with that stuff, but that's going to be the deciding factor on if this game going into the fourth quarter is still a game. If we are able to, keep control of the ball and run the ball that we want to do or play the ball that we want to do, we'll go into the fourth quarter and this game will be out of reach. And then everyone will just want to wind down the clock in the fourth quarter. Mm-hmm. But if we're fumbling the ball and giving Northwestern chances, well, then they're going to run with them and possibly turn us into the next, Minnesota game like we saw, which no one wants to happen because that would be devastating to our season and what we need to happen. But I'm going to go with a 28-14 score here.
Okay. So just
The
a
only
little bit
reason I'm
different.
going like a 14 instead of a 10 is I feel like we give them a chance with a fumble or a pick. Kind of in the red zone, they capitalize on it. But I think we're going to turn around and play like we should after that, because that's really the biggest thing that I've seen from past coaches to Matt Rule is past coaches. I mean, we were at that Iowa game where they blocked the punt. I'll never forget that. You could like, it's going to sound weird, but you could literally feel the energy like being pulled out of the
Mhm.
stadium as soon as that punt got blocked. And we were still up 2 scores at that time,
Yeah.
but it felt like we were losing, right? And so
Right.
because you knew at the time when we got down, we just didn't play well. And when we were up big, we tried to play conservative. Well, Matt Rule is big on if we're up big, we're going to see how big we can get up. And if we're down, we're playing to come back in this football game. I don't care how much we're down, right? Whereas like before, if we were down, we tended to just give up.
Mhm.
And if we were up big, it was always like, oh man, what could go wrong here? And
Right.
so leads are a little more solidified now. And that's the biggest thing here is when mistakes happen, you just got to forget about them and move on.
Yeah. 100%. So, Zach, unless you have anything else, we
Nope.
will end it there. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell so you don't miss an episode. Very quick episode today. Just wanted to get it prediction analysis out to you guys as fast as possible. But make sure you follow all those socials in the description for all the extra content there. Make sure you check out Bet the Mortgage coming out later today. But without further ado, go Big Red.
If we die, we die! If we die, we die!